Today I'm going to show you how to replace the button cover for your liftgate handle, and this is for my Toyota Sequoia 2013, but this applies to models from 2008 to I think 2018-19. So the entire assembly, handle, door, button and everything, Toyota dealer charges $189 for the part, and with labor that would be more like $350 for them to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it in about less than an hour with a $10 part, because that rubber part has melted and it's very hard to open the door, and you guys have probably noticed that as well for your cars. That's a common thing that happens with Siennas and Sequoias and other Toyota cars. So this video should apply to all those different cars, and the technique should be very similar with slightly different parts, but make sure to take pictures in every step of the way so that you remember how the parts come together and in what order you disassemble, so you could reassemble it in the proper order, and so it'll save you some time. Now the tools you need today are really not very many, but I just bought this $20 trim removal kit, and actually I didn't need to use any of it to do the work. You have to remove 4 plastic panels, and you really don't need any tools unless they get really kind of tight, but you could wiggle it mostly by hand. First you remove this top panel first, then the 2 side panel, this one and that one, and lastly you remove the large bottom panel. They all are snapped in by plastic clips. Before you do that, you have to remove this one child safety latch, and there's a bolt under there. It just slides off. And counterclockwise. First you remove the top panel, and you just grab it one end here, and you just kind of wiggle. See this? There you go. Once the top panel comes off, you take out this panel. Again, very easy. This side. This one is actually held on this side, so you have to pull it from the bottom. Again, you don't need any special tools, and sometimes the tools will scratch your plastic, and you just kind of wiggle, and you just let it turn and let it hang. Don't worry if one of the tabs break. These are sold by a pack. You could buy these in Amazon or at auto store. The panel is just clipped on with a lip, and then there's clips all the way around. You can just start it from one end. Just start wiggling it. See, it just starts going around it. And again, you could use those trim tools if you want, but I rather just use my hand and just find the next tab, pull, next tab, pull. Next is there's this plastic cover, and it's kind of attached by this caulk material. It's kind of a sticky caulk, and you could just peel it off, and you could just reattach it once you're done. Just taped it up so it'll be out of the way. So you don't want to get this stuff on your hair. It's kind of very sticky and gunky. Now I'm going to remove the 2 10mm bolts here and here. I'll just loosen it. Counterclockwise, and then you just do the rest with your hands. Okay, so I removed the bolt. Now this is, it'll come right off. See how to just wiggle it out? Now this is out. You have the cable. Now you could undo the cable if you want to replace the entire assembly. Now this is what the dealer's charging $189 for this entire assembly. But actually the switch should be perfectly fine. It's just the rubber part that is really bad. So you need to take this out, and nothing's really holding it other than these two clips. You have to loosen the clips. One side comes off. Screwdriver, loosen it. Sometimes there you go. So once you take this out, these two screws are very easy to get to. Now I already replaced this. I forgot to videotape that portion. And these plastic, since they're several years old, they might be kind of frail, and you need to be careful. And be careful, these are old plastic parts and they do break. You gotta squeeze the part that's holding it together, and you can disconnect. See? It was all melted, so I had to scrape all of it off. And the back side, don't forget to scrape the back side. See, still some left over, see? See, they're all just melted rubber parts. Scrape it all off as well as you can. And once you're done, make sure you keep in the right orientation. You see there's a little lip here. That should go on the flat side. This. Okay. And what you do, you slide it in. And it's just a rubber part, so you pull it like a boot. You pull it over the corners. My fingers are a little slippery. Put these rubber gloves on. I'm going to have to take these gloves off. There. Make sure they're all nice and tight. See? Now, slide it back in. They'll snap back in place, and be careful. These plastic parts are kind of brittle and old. Okay. And you put the two screws back in. Now remember, this is a plastic part, so don't make it too tight, just snug. So now again, you always have to make sure you put it back in the right order. See, I've already got that backwards. See? Okay. See how these tab, snap it in. See, you hear the click. It's a little stretched out, but it's okay. Once you put the bolt on, everything will be nice and snug. Okay. Then you make sure you don't crimp the wires. You slide it up all the way. Make sure it's in tight, and then snap. Make sure your wire's not crimped or pinched. Okay. You're gonna put the two bolts back in, and then I'll put the plastic back on, and I'll show you a little bit how to put the big panel back on. So you want to do most of the tightening by hand, and then you do a snug tight with the 10 millimeter. tack it. Snug. Don't over tighten, it's just a sheet metal. There's a lip here, so you want to hook it first and then you start snapping the parts in place. See, the lip is hooked, and then you make sure it can snap aligned to the hole. You gotta make sure they're aligned before you try to snap it in. One at a time. And you do the side panels, which are just a couple of snaps. Make sure you align the holes. Side panels next. Make sure you hear the snap. And lastly, we align the holes. Now the project is all done with a $10 part, about an hour's worth of labor if you follow my steps.